So, I'm doing this video today with kind of a heavy heart. Heavy in the sense that this topic I'm about to get into is something that I've seen get very viral, you could say, on the internet, this topic of love bombing. And I've seen a lot of people's interpretations or definitions, whatever you want to call it, breakdowns of the situation. And what I have found is that in a lot of these explanations, there's a lot of context missing. There's a lot of misunderstanding that, in my opinion, can easily lead to people missing out on something amazing. Now, you may think that's crazy because we're talking about love bombing. And for those of you who may not know what love bombing is, just a quick, brief overview. It's essentially when you meet someone and they're just over the top from the beginning. They're just completely, they're constantly praising you, want to be with you, maybe saying, I love you very fast, showering you with gifts. They're just going hard and fast. And essentially at some point, it goes away, all right? And though, of course, what most are going to say is this is a manipulation tactic. And it indeed, in some cases, is. And later on this video, I'm going to tell you the 7 types of guys that this can happen with. And some of those guys are going to be men who come into it trying to manipulate you for very specific reasons that I will break down. But there are other instances where I feel that the behavior that is perceived as love bombing has a deeper rooted explanation to it that we need to understand. Because if you don't, you will jump to the wrong conclusions. And this is no disrespect or shade to anyone on the internet that discusses this topic. But too many times these instances are painted with in a negative light that undermines the human experience and what we go through and why we do the things that we do, all right? So let me make this clear before we get into the 7. Understand this. When you're trying to evaluate if you are being love bombed, all right? Because I even seen in the comment section of my videos, people pointing out love bombing as if anytime a man, and I say a man because I'm speaking to women in this video, but also because when you look up the definitions or we look up people's explanations, they typically make this an issue of what men do. Not saying that they don't say women don't ever do it, but typically it's the man love bombing in their opinion. And so you see a lot of people being quick to label it as that. And instead not understanding that if you're trying to be able to recognize if this is love bombing or not, the first question you need to ask yourself is, what do you really feel for this person? All right? Here's what I mean by that. Because I'm a firm believer that genuine love, true love, real connection happens very quickly. All right? And it's very intense. And because of this, it can lead to what is perceived as love bombing. But in actuality, it's not. It's almost an overflow of love, an overflow of excitement, an overflow of, oh my gosh, I have never come across this before. And I want this, and I want this badly. And many don't know how to handle themselves in that situation. But in order to understand if it's connection, love, and it's not love bombing, it starts with how do you really feel? Because I always say connection and true love is a two-way experience. Love bombing is a one-way thing. And what I mean by one-way is it's one person presenting these intense feelings, hoping to pull something out of you, hoping to lull you into the delusion of them, quote unquote, loving you in order to get what they desire from you. Okay? However, when it's connection, it is both of you feeling something strongly, maybe drawn to each other, something deep and genuine here. But the reason why it may look like love bombing is because both parties may not be prepared to express what they're feeling. So just to give an example, let's say as a woman, you come across the man and immediately in the first date, you feel this strong connection with him, something you've never felt with any guy before. And that's important. It's not I've felt like this before. I've really liked someone before. I've had strong chemistry before. No. It's something that separates from your other experiences, okay? But because maybe you've been through some things, you've been hurt, you've been let down, you're very cautious in embracing that feeling. You may be overly questioning it. Nah, maybe I'm tripping right now. This can't be real. No, this is too good to believe. Maybe you want to embrace it, but when you tell your friends and family, they tell you, girl, slow down. You're moving too fast. No, you're just too excited right now. But regardless of what you actually do, you still feel it, but you're not acting on it. Whereas the man who felt it too, but for various reasons, maybe he's healed from his past, maybe he's pushing past his past hurt, he's willing to now pour into it. So now you have this dynamic where he's going hard and you're still trying to navigate the situation, kind of with your wall up, being overly cautious or being cautious. And so now from the outside looking in, someone may say, oh no, this man is love bombing you. This man, he's trying to set you up. Girl, you need to run as fast as you can. But you're running from something real. And you are able to determine that if you're just honest with yourself first. But on the flip side, like I said, when it's a love bomb, a real love bomb, it's not you feeling that connection. It's not you feeling that strong, intense feeling within yourself. It's not you really being drawn to them, except for the fact that you are drawn to the attention they're giving you. You're drawn to the gifts. You're drawn to the treatment. You're drawn to the fantasy they are creating. But when you take a step back, the man himself, you don't really like him like that. You're not really into him like that. You're into what you hope this can be. You're into the fact that, man, finally, I don't have to be single anymore. Finally, I can have my dream of having kids. Finally, I can shut my family up from asking me why I'm single. All right? And this makes you want to latch on to all the pouring into you that he's doing. And in reality, when it is a love bomb, you're still seeing red flags. You're still noticing something. Whether it's an inconsistency here, whether there's something in you deep inside saying this ain't right, but there's that part of you on the surface that says, but you want this to be right. Or maybe this feels real good, even though I know it's not best for me. And you fight through that because you want to maybe give this a chance and push things along. And so it's important that you really evaluate from within what is going on here before you start to label this situation and his actions. Before you focus on the man, focus on you. And of course, if you've watched my other videos, then you know I'm big on praying about it, listening to your intuition. This will help you when trying to decipher this whole love bombing thing. And before we get to those 7 types of guys, because again, there are some very specific types of men I have to explain to you. It's really important that you are mindful of who you are getting input from in your situations. And I say that because, again, there are a lot of people who are speaking from a broken place, who are evaluating your situation from their own personal lens. So essentially, if you go to, and this is not saying every friend, family member, whoever, it can't give you good advice. But if you go to this friend, and I feel the need to say this because some people might say, oh yeah, like don't go to a single person. It doesn't matter if they're single, married, or whatever. It matters where is the source of their information coming from? What's driving their perceptions? That's what's more important than anything, all right? Because single, married, whoever can give good advice, can give bad advice, all right? It really is about what's driving them in how they guide you here. And is it coming from a healthy place or a broken place? Because yes, someone could be married and still be giving you advice from a broken place that creates a more broken situation for you. So understand that. But because many may try to put themselves in your shoes and look at it through, well, I would do this, but what they would do is out of an unhealthy is an unhealthy behavior due to past hurts and disappointments. So you've got to be careful with that. You got to be careful with that. And that, again, that's why I have to remind you, praying is so important because God ain't broken. he ain't coming from an unhealthy place. Your spirit's not broken. So that guidance to me is the purest guidance you can receive, all right? Because there's no bias, there's no ill intent. The only purpose is to serve you truth and to guide you in a better direction. But now let's get into some of these types of guys that will typically love bomb you. Guy number one, Mr. Homeless and Broke. All right, so you know where I'm going with this, all right? The reality is that there's a lot of people, a lot of men out there, some have labeled them homosexuals, okay? And these guys, due to their unfavorable financial position or the fact that they need a place to stay, those guys are trying to find a woman who is willing to accept them and allow them to essentially leech off for that woman, okay? And because that man understands that his window of opportunity may be short and what he's trying to accomplish is such a great ask, meaning it's one thing if he just wants a woman to entertain him and spend some time with him. But there's literally men looking for a place they can lay their head, literally looking for a woman who can essentially sponsor their life. And because asking that requires more, well, this man's gonna come hard. He's gonna come hard, he's gonna come fast. No pun intended. All right, but he's really gonna do a number, okay? And you know what? Speaking of no pun intended in that regard, like there's one of my friends, I remember he had made a reference to a time he had sexual relations. And he said, man, I went in there and I laid it down like I was a broke man needing a place to stay. All right. I gave it to her like I was homeless. I mean, and listen, he was making a joke, but it's real. It happens because, again, this man is operating from a place of desperate need. So it's important for you as a woman that when you meet a man and he's doing so much so fast, you do have to evaluate his situation. And of course, the easiest sign or the easiest flag that's going to show you this is the type of guy you're dealing with is the guy who quickly tries to talk about moving in together, quickly tries to talk about, or, you know, is constantly staying at your house. Like, do you even know where he stays outside of when he's with you? Does he even have a address? Are you ever able to go to his house? If those things don't exist, then this is a huge red flag. Now, again, in fairness, I always say red flags are things to not just see and then you run. You address it, you talk about it, because I don't want you to just automatically assume that the man who's always over your house and the man who talks about moving in quickly is automatically a homosexual, right? But it is something that needs to be investigated, and it is something that happens commonly with women. And so I just want you to be aware so that you don't get caught up in that. All right, so let's get to the second guy. And before I do, I just want to be clear. I said hobosexual, not homosexual. My video guy had to just ask to make sure. So I want to make sure you heard me correctly. Hobo, H-O-B-O, is what they're referred to, men who need a place to stay, all right? But anyways, moving on to the second type of guy who will love bomb you is Mr. Inexperienced. And here's one of those examples of men that can get caught up in quote unquote love bombing. So I say quote unquote love bombing, meaning they're coming on very strong, very quickly, okay? But I put it in quote unquote because their intention is not to manipulate and disappear. They're doing it because they don't know any better. And the reality is that here's something that I don't think a lot of women understand. And I will say that in today's world, it's changing a lot more. But once upon a time, a lot of men were raised to believe that when you found a woman that you really wanted, that you were really into, that you got to go hard for her, that you got to show her how much you want her. The whole, if a man wants you, he will stop at nothing to get you, and the man has to court you. All these types of ideologies have, in some ways, brainwashed a lot of men to think, I have to do the most, especially if she is a woman who has many other suitors, viewed as highly desirable, whatever the case may be. So some of these men, again, are doing it thinking, I need to do this to get you, not to then switch up on you. But let's talk about the fact that then why do they switch up? Because I know some of you are thinking, okay, fine, maybe he was being genuine, but then why did he stop? We have to understand that the unfortunate reality for a lot of individuals, and this happens again to men, is that when you get caught up in your emotions, it's very easy to lose sight of things, all right? So just as women overlook red flags, there are tons of men who have overlooked red flags, okay? And red flags also don't necessarily mean someone is bad, manipulative, or anything like that. It may simply mean red flag that y'all two are not a good fit, all right? And this is not going to work in the long run. But his high desire for you makes him want to just push past that and keep going. I have to even mention this right now because it's kind of coming to me. An example of this, even past the initial stage of a man pursuing you, I cannot tell you how many DMs I have gotten from men who sound a little something like this. Man, I've been dealing with my girl, and she's really disrespectful to me, and we haven't been intimate in a long time, and she's been treating me all kinds of bad ways, but man, I want her so bad. Can you help me with getting her back? It's like, so wait a minute, bro. Like, you just told me all these horrible, negative things, all these unhealthy things, and before some of y'all jump to the conclusion that, oh, it's only bad or she's only behaving that way because of something that he did. No. I'm talking about this is what she was doing to this man from the jump. But he has become so infatuated with this woman that despite her unhealthy behavior, he still tries to be with her. This can happen to a lot of men. And so again, what I was mentioning earlier, because I almost lost track, is that when they do go so hard and they eventually switch up, is because sometimes what happens is the man finally wakes up. The man finally comes out of his fog of infatuation, fog of desperation sometimes, and realizes, wait a minute, this isn't good. Wait a minute, this isn't healthy. And now he steps back, or he finally starts to realize this woman does not treat me the way I treat her. She doesn't pour into me the way I pour into her. And again, some of you have to ask yourself, because I've mentioned this before, sometimes when the man does so much early and then stops being that great, amazing man, it's because you weren't reciprocating. And at some point, he can't keep taking that. He can't keep giving to you when you're not giving back. That's why I'm always on you, ladies, about making sure you don't have your walls up, that you are able to make a mutual effort in trying to build that relationship. That's why I tell men and women, do not chase after anybody. Nobody should be chasing anyone. Two people should be coming together, working together, pouring into each other if you want a successful and healthy relationship. So that's just some of the reasons why he may switch up. But it's not always about him just wanting to reel you in just to then spit you out once he has you. All right. Has that happened with some men? Yes. And again, we're going to continue with the list, but that's not always the case. And you need to have a more well-rounded understanding of these situations. So again, the second guy on this list, he's inexperienced. He doesn't know better. That's why he goes so hard so fast. All right. So let's keep this moving. The third type of guy who will love bomb you is Mr. He needs his citizenship. All right. So let me start off by saying no shade to any of my foreigners. If y'all know, again, my parents are Haitian. I grew up in Miami, foreign culture. I know a lot of people who needed their papers. Okay. I'm not saying, I don't want you guys to think everyone who needs their citizenship is going to manipulate and love bomb you and all these things, right? It's not everyone. But does this happen? You better believe it. You better absolutely believe it. And I've had situations where a woman has told me about, she just met this man and all this stuff happening, right? And I would sense something is wrong. And my first question would be, where's he from? And she'll say, he's Jamaican. No shade to Jamaicans. I'm just giving one example that happened, all right? And I said, does he have his papers? No. Oh man, like immediately it's like, okay, you know what? This is why I'm sensing something's off here. So bottom line, for those of you who are not aware, when the man needs his citizenship, especially when he's coming up on that deadline of, if I don't make something happen soon, if I don't get a woman to marry me, I'm going to get deported. Okay? You better believe he's going hard. You better believe he's pulling all the guns out, because it kind of goes back to the guy number one, who I said when they have a bigger ask of that woman, they have to do more to secure that, okay? And to get his citizenship, he doesn't just need you to be his girlfriend, he needs you to marry him. And he needs this to happen as quickly as possible. So he is going to push. Now, again, I'm saying it one more time. I do not want you to assume that there's never been a real love connection with a man who needed his papers, who wanted to get married quickly. There are, but I have to be honest, that's probably a minority situation, okay? You've got to keep your eyes open, and you got to be honest with yourself about what's going on here. And again, it goes back to, you've got to evaluate things from the perspective of, what am I really feeling here? What is my spirit telling me? Praying, talking about it. It's a tough dynamic because, again, if you in any way feel like you're into this man and he's over here saying, well, if he simply lets you know, if I don't get married soon, I'm going to be shipped out, and you don't want him to get shipped out, you may fall into the pressure of marrying this man. And then after you marry him, all hell breaks loose. All right. And things go completely downhill from there, because now he's secured what he wanted. So I say it's a tough situation because, again, I don't want to just paint a negative light on every non-citizen who tries to get with a woman, but it's just a real thing. It's a real thing that you have to be aware of. You definitely have to do some praying about. You have to be mindful of, because, man, I've seen a lot of horror stories from both sides. Men getting with women who needed citizenship and women getting with men who needed citizenship. And it can get really messy really fast. So yes, definitely another type of guy who will love bomb you. All right, so let's keep this going. But real quick, everyone's always asking me about coaching, wanting more help, wanting to go deeper into topics like tapping into your feminine energy, hearing from God, meeting higher quality men. I have all that ready for you and more when you join my special coaching program. Go to www.receivingmyblessings.com or just click the link in the description or in the comments section. It has helped thousands of women. You are going to love it. Take advantage and get in it. It will teach you how to heal as well. You'll be able to have live sessions with me, group sessions where I'll be answering your personal questions. All right, you can get a lot from this. So again, receivingmyblessings.com. So we are now at the fourth type of guy on this list. And this is another one who is not coming in trying to be a manipulator. All right. And that is Mr. Too Damn Insecure. So this kind of goes back to Mr. Inexperienced. And one thing I want to mention about Mr. Inexperienced that I forgot to say is that another reason why it's very easy for that guy to go so hard so fast, outside of what he's been told, as you know, when you really are into a woman, is because when you haven't been hurt, you are the freest with your love. You are the freest or most willing to pour in. Think about your first experience feeling like, maybe you weren't truly in love, but at least feeling like you're really into this person, this is who you want. Before you ever got hurt, before you ever experienced trauma, chances are that was your most giving time in your life. Chances are you were going harder than you've ever gone before. Chances are the only reasons we don't go super fast at that time is because other people are telling us to slow down. So it is very easy for someone who has not been through that pain yet to be so much more free and so fast in early stages of dating with you. So keep that in mind. But now Mr. Too Insecure, this is a level, and it kind of connects to the Mr. Inexperienced of simply if I don't do this, she won't love me. If I don't do this, I won't be able to get this girl. Maybe I don't believe I really have a true chance with her, but I'm going to try, and I'm just going to try the hardest I possibly can. Maybe I don't think I stack up to the other guys that want her attention, so I have to somehow outperform them. I have to beat them at this game. And because of this, I go hard. And so what's coming in my spirit right now is even the expression of I love you, even the wanting a relationship very quickly, because again, you have to understand that a lot of men are hearing from women that men aren't serious, men don't want to commit, all these things. So what happens in that man's brain is, well, if I want to show her I'm different, I need to bring up commitment as quickly as possible. I have to show her that I'm willing to dive into this and that I'm serious. How else do I do that? Saying things like, I love you. This is where a lot of men are misguided in how they proceed in these situations. Again, the man who's insecure. Now, I'm going to mention number 7 later as far as when this is just a genuine thing, but I'll put a pin in that. But to keep it on Mr. Insecure, he does not know any better. Plain and simple. And he thinks I have to do this to win you over. But again, it is not trying to manipulate you. It is not trying to pull the rug out from under you. And I think that the way to navigate this situation as a woman is to simply have a discussion with the man. Again, don't just see this behavior and assume, oh, he's love bombing you. He's up to no good. No, talk about it. Because if he is insecure, then what would cure the situation? Providing security. So essentially, if you talk to him and you say, hey, listen, I like you. And I want us to see if we can grow together. And I'm only dating you. I'm just giving an example. Not saying you have to only date him. I'm just saying, let's just say you told him that. And now you're saying, I just want us to slow things down because I need us to take more time with this. Now that you've given him the piece of, okay, I know that she's here with me. We're on the same page. We want to work towards something. All right, I can take a deep breath. I don't have to try so hard anymore. And not try so hard in the sense of not putting forth an effort, but not being over the top, not doing things that may be perceived as love bombing. So it's just having a discussion. And that is another great way to decipher the love bomber from the guy who's just experiencing some other issues. Because the argument can be made that the love bomber does not want to take his foot off the gas no matter what. Even if you say to him, hey, listen, I like you too, let's slow things down. Because he has a mission here, again, whether it's getting his papers, whether it's he needs a place to stay, whether it's some of the things I'm going to mention, whether it's just simply wanting your validation. And then once he has it, okay, I'm done with her. I just want to conquer this woman. And now I'm good. I can move on to the next. That guy is not going to rest until he accomplishes his mission. So you having a talk with him will not slow him down. That will help you see where's he really at with this, all right? So be willing to have a discussion. But yes, a man being insecure can lead to him, quote unquote, love bombing. All right, so we got a few more to get through. So now this is number 5 on the list, type of guy who will love bomb you, Mr. Online and out of the country. Listen, I had to mention this one because I cannot tell you. Listen, there's this phenomenon going on the internet where these men, and again, this is not to make it seem like every man out the country is a manipulating love bomber trying to, take things from you. But this is happening a lot where these men are finding you in the comment section and you'll see them responding to multiple different comments with the same message, okay? Or DMing women after, hell, you could comment on one of my posts and then they're gonna DM you, okay? And it's this guy who is overseas and now wants to try to date you. And this is a red flag because this man pursuing you, it's one thing if we stumbled across each other, maybe in a Facebook group or some random thing, right? But to seek you out, knowing he's overseas, to try to seriously date you, and then again, coming on so strong, so fast, this is a red flag to explore. Now, here's the difference between Mr. Online and overseas and Mr. trying to get his citizenship. Mr. Online and Overseas has no plans of coming to America, okay? And I'm sorry to laugh, but like, he has no intentions of coming here. He's simply trying to reel you in to this fantasy of a relationship, and then you're gonna start to notice asking you for money, asking you for favors, all these different things. And I hope, if any of you scammers are watching this video, I hope you feel guilty right now. I love exposing you right now because it's dirty and it's wrong and you need to stop. But anyways, let me focus on the women right now. Guard yourself against this. Be mindful. And some of y'all may say, nah, nobody's falling for this. No, it's happening to a lot of women. It's happening to a lot of women, unfortunately. And I really pray for y'all who have fallen victim to this, and anyone's fallen victim to any of these love bombers, because it's an unfortunate experience and it's very hurtful, but I want you to have your eyes open. It's very easy to want to hold on to that fantasy and all those things that guy is feeding you. But again, you have to ask yourself, what's the bigger picture here? And my thing is, it's one thing if Mr. Online and Overseas has plans to come see you, and he doesn't ask you for money to come see you. That's another thing. If this man says, oh, I want to see you, baby, but you got to send me some money so I can catch a plane ticket. What? If he can't pay for his own plane ticket, there's a very good chance he's trying to scam you. All right? And what's probably going to happen is you're going to send him the money, and he's going to say, oh, something came up. I wasn't able to make the trip. Well, let's try next time. But, and then somehow get away with holding on to the money and maybe even asking you for more. But anyways, Mr. Online or Overseas, definitely a guy who is type of guy who are love bombing women and trying to scam you. Oh, and one more thing before I move on to the next point. My videographer just pointed out to me, sometimes this could be a setup for sex trafficking as well. So you want to be very mindful of this whole flying out, because maybe it's okay. Maybe he's not trying to get you, he's not trying to say he's going to come see you, but maybe try to get you to come see him. You got to be very careful with going overseas, meeting a random stranger. You got to take a lot of precautions and protect yourself in these situations, because there's a lot of craziness going on. There's sex trafficking going on even with interstate situations, all right, local situations, but it can happen overseas as well. So be very mindful of that. So now let's move on to the next one. This will be really quick, and that is Mr. doesn't have any other options, all right? And the reason why I put this guy on the list is because one of the things they mention about love bombing is the man who wants to reel you in, wants to kind of capture your love, so to speak. And once he has that, once he gets his validation, he moves on. And what that made me think of is the fact that there are some men who right now feel like they don't really have good success with women, can't get other women. And so they start off love bombing because it kind of goes back to Mr. Insecure and Mr. Inexperienced and things of that nature, where he thinks he has to do this to get you. And then what happens is after he gets you, I've seen this in some scenarios where the man gains a confidence of like, oh, wait a minute, I could get her, so maybe I could get these other girls I've always wanted. Or what could also happen is he gets you, and again, hitting my spirit, a lot of you ladies date down. And you date down, and I'm not going to get too deep into this, but you date down with the mentality of, this joker has to appreciate me. He ain't never had a woman like me. So he's going to be grateful. He's not going anywhere. He's not the most desirable man. I am safe here. But what you don't realize that you just did is you upgraded his resume. Other women see him with you and say, well, wait a minute. How did he get her? He must have money. He must be packing. Something's got to be right for this guy to have gotten her. Now she's curious, and now she starts showing him attention. So now this man, who was once not the most desirable, starts to get more attention from women he's never gotten attention from. And now his switching up, his withdrawing his effort from you is because now he realizes, I got more options. Wait a minute, I'm the hot guy on the block now. And so this is another scenario where it can happen where, again, he starts off going strong. Maybe you get with him, he stops, and then next thing you know, he thinks he's, the hottest thing since sliced bread, or whatever they say. and he's out there exploring his options. So that's another one that can happen, and you want to be mindful of. again, we'll talk about that whole dating down thing in another video. All right, last but not least, well, you know what? I'm gonna give this one, I'm gonna switch this up. I had a bonus, but I wanna get this video wrapped up because we've gone on a little long. So let me throw one in there. It's not, I'm gonna break it down. It's not completely love bombing, but I'll explain. So number 7, which was the bonus, but now number 7 is he's in the military, all right? This is not shade to military men, got nothing but respect for these men. However, what I have seen a lot of times is where, because in the military, to my understanding, there's incentives to being married when you get into the military. I've seen a lot of young men push for marriage very fast or trying to find a girl that they can marry very fast to get these benefits, all right? Also, it may be just to have somebody there because, I mean, you go into the military, you don't know how your life's going to be, various reasons. But either way, I've seen a lot, and this typically happens at a much younger age because these are men who are just enrolling into the military. And so for those of you who are young watching this, or maybe some of you who have young daughters, you want to be mindful of that. Because again, I've seen a lot of mismatched relationships be brought together because of the whole, he's in the military, wants to have a wife as quickly as possible, and that just turns messy a little later on down the road. So just want to throw that out there. But to get to the main one that I really wanted to talk about, and then we'll wrap this up, is the last guy who will love bomb you, quote unquote, is the man who's truly in love. And so again, this goes back to what I said in the very beginning of the video. Not every instance of intense intention, intense desire is a product of manipulation, love bombing, so on and so forth. Again, here's what you have to understand. When someone feels a connection, again, that person that they felt this connection with has separated themselves from everybody else. And this recognizing of, or at least feeling like this person is the one, can cause people to now jump the gun on trying to hold on to this, because like, I don't know if this is going to ever come back around. I've never experienced this before. And not knowing how to handle themselves emotionally causes them to overdo things, causes them to move too fast. But it's coming from a genuine, well, partially coming from a genuine place. So the source is love, or the big ingredient is true connection and love, right? But there is fear that's stepping in and causing to move very fast. There may be insecurity, because here's the thing, when you feel a connection, it pulls out your insecurities. It pulls out the fears. It makes you extremely vulnerable. And if you don't understand how to handle that, yes, you may come on too strong. You may be extremely reactive. There's so much that can happen, but it doesn't mean that at the end of the day, this is not a genuine situation. And this is why, again, we have to talk to each other. We have to, or you as the woman in this situation, have to ask yourself, but am I feeling a connection too? If you are, then let's work through this. Let's discuss this. And working through this doesn't mean we have to be together tomorrow, but it is being able to recognize it for what it is, talk about it, rather than writing this individual off as a love bomber or running from the situation because it feels too scary. And that's something that I feel like a lot of people who are talking about this topic are missing. And that's why I said it can lead people to missing out on something extremely special. And I don't want that to be you. So make sure, as always, you go within. You listen to your intuition. You pray. You let God guide you so that you make sure you go about things in the way that's truly best for you, so you can receive the blessings that are truly there waiting for you. Hey, thank you for watching this video. Be sure to check this one out right here, and I'll see you there. You deserve a man who's going to make you a priority, not a convenience. But the reality is that many women are finding themselves in situations where they're not receiving the effort they deserve.